The war has devastated Gaza, with 1,000 Palestinians killed by Israeli bombs. Yet Israel conceded to Hamas. How did a military power fall to a resistance? Netanyahu is no longer prime minister, and his government is collapsing. What changed? How did Hamas force Israel to retreat, and how might this ceasefire fracture Israel? Let's explore today's geopolitical analysis. Israel, claiming unstoppable military might, negotiates with Hamas. After the war, Israel has retreated before Gaza's resistance, which is now a symbol of their shame. Under the agreement, Israel will withdraw troops, and the signs of Israel's defeat continue with the prisoner exchange conditions, another major blow. Israel has been forced to retreat. How will this ceasefire break Israel apart? Israel, once unstoppable, is now negotiating with Hamas after 15 months of war. Israel retreated before Gaza's resistance, now ruins due to Israeli actions. Gaza symbolizes their shame. Israel's step-by-step troop withdrawal symbolizes their bowing. Signs of defeat continue. Prisoner exchange is another blow. For one Israeli, 40 to 50 Palestinians, including long-held fighters, will be released. Their release may inspire a new generation in the freedom struggle. This is humiliating for Israel, failing on the battlefield and now discussed globally. Israel will withdraw troops gradually, marking defeat. The prisoner exchange is harsh. Worst Israeli for 40-50 Palestinians, including long-held fighters, inspiring resistance. Israel's military failure extends to diplomatic concessions with Hamas. Implementing. For one Israeli prisoner, 40-50 Palestinian prisoners are released, including many long-imprisoned fighters. Some have been held for decades dreaming of freedom. Their release aims to inspire new courage in resistance. This has become a humiliating point for Israel, failing on the battlefield and now on the world stage. Ultimately, they had to agree with Hamas. This agreement is not just a signature. Each step marks a new chapter of shame for Israel. But how will it be implemented? Are there conditions that have shifted the war's tide and favored Hamas? Before answering, let's see how Hamas and the Palestinians claim victory through bravery. It may seem unrealistic, but Hamas, once targeted for annihilation, is now a symbol of resistance, making Israel the defeated party. They were forced to agree with Hamas. This agreement is more than signing. Every step marks new shame for Israel. Did conditions turn the war and make Hamas win? Let's see how Hamas and Palestinians won through bravery. Hamas, once targeted by Israel, is now a resistance symbol, defeating Israel. Without modern weapons, they showed courage, unity, and support win on battlefields and diplomacy. Challenging Israel's power, they forced a retreat and ceasefire. It may sound unrealistic in today's world, but the truth is that Hamas, which Israel dreamed of annihilating, has now become a symbol of resistance, making Israel the defeated party. Despite lacking modern weapons, they have proven that courage, unity, and popular support can win not just on the battlefield, but also on the entire diplomatic stage. By challenging Israel's military power and their unstoppable attitude, they have forced Israel to retreat and seek a ceasefire. The request for this resistance is not limited to just military victory. It marks the beginning of a new chapter for Palestine. Through this victory, Hamas's popularity has soared among the Palestinians. Every Palestinian now sees this resistance as a symbol of their existence and freedom. Israel will withdraw troops from Gaza. Reconstruction will start with international help, rebuilding homes, schools, and hospitals. The agreement includes a 42-day ceasefire for displaced Palestinians to return to northern Gaza. Hamas will release 33 Israeli hostages, and Israel will free 30 Palestinian prisoners. Daily humanitarian aid will enter Gaza with 600 supply trucks. New talks will start within 16 days for a permanent ceasefire and remaining hostages release. In the second phase, Gaza's reconstruction continues. This agreement signifies more than resistance victory. This will be a ceasefire for the displaced Palestinians, a new opportunity to return home. They will return to their own land in the north of Gaza. Second, the release will include 33 Israeli hostages that Hamas will release in this phase, women, children, and men over 50. Israel will release 30 Palestinian prisoners for each hostage, especially Palestinian women and children under 19 who have been held since October 2023, towards the end of this phase. Third, humanitarian aid will enter Gaza at a rate of 600 taka per day. Relief materials including 50-odd fuel trucks. In addition, there will be an allocation of 300 taka, the devastated public life to find answers. It will bring a new light of hope. The next step is the beginning of new negotiations. The next negotiations will begin within 16 days of the first step. There will be a proposal for a permanent ceasefire and discussions for the release of the remaining hostages. In the second step, the reconstruction of Gaza will begin, and the most important thing is to bring back the remaining bodies. This agreement is not only a victory for the resistance, this is a promise for every Palestinian to rise again. You might be wondering how this is a victory for Hamas. Nearly 45,000 Palestinians have lost their lives, and all of Gaza has been destroyed. Victory or defeat in war is not about casualties. Victory is achieving battlefield goals. Israel declared war against a handful of brave fighters, with the power of the entire Western world behind it. Their goal: eliminate Hamas. However, Hamas's attacks were strong and strategic, and Israel has completely failed to achieve its desired goals. They had to cease fire before reaching their goal. This proves that Israel's plans were not successful. Their target was singular: to completely eliminate Hamas. But the reality is that Hamas's attacks were so strong and well planned that Israel has completely failed to achieve its desired goals. In fact, they were forced to go for a ceasefire even before reaching that goal. This proves that Israel's plans were not successful. President Joe Biden says Hamas gained strength through this agreement. It shows victory isn't just with weapons. Confidence, unity, and people's power can change war's course. Each step of this agreement reminds us of courage in resistance. This ceasefire is a failure for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and a crisis for his politics. Hardline leader Ben-Gvir and his ministers won't accept it, threatening to break the coalition, risking Netanyahu's government collapse. Cabinet conflicts persist. Some support the agreement, others see it as an insult, weakening Netanyahu's leadership amid public pressure. Public protests favor the ceasefire, while hardliners' anger leaves Netanyahu stuck. He's in a tough spot, fearing government collapse. Cabinet conflicts and public anger have shaken his power. This agreement is another. They have threatened. If implemented, they will break the coalition, collapsing Netanyahu's government. One group supports, another sees it as an insult. This division weakens Netanyahu's leadership, compounded by public pressure. Public protests favor the ceasefire, but hardliners' anger leaves Netanyahu stuck. Netanyahu fears his government's collapse. This agreement is another chapter of humiliation. Does this ceasefire mark lasting peace, or is it a new conspiracy in Israel? Will history speak of Palestinian victory, or will peace turn into conflict? The conflicts within the cabinet and public anger have all combined to shake Netanyahu's grip on power. This agreement will be yet another chapter of humiliation for him. However, the question remains, does this ceasefire truly mark the beginning of lasting peace? Or is it just a shadow of a new conspiracy in Israel? Will the pages of history speak of the Palestinians' victory, or will this peace once again turn into bloody conflict? These questions will always reveal what you think.